Lance Hall here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Happy to welcome Michael Jahnz to the program today. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing great, Lance. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking the time for me. Here to talk about the Richrath Project 1313 LA is Mine album that came out back in August. Fantastic stuff, Michael. I've listened to it a couple of times over the last few days. Love it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're very proud of what we did.
And I've been real anxious to talk to you about it because I've done a lot of interviews, but I've never done anybody that closely associated with REO.
Yeah.
And we're coming up on a pretty good anniversary for me. It was 39 years ago, November 11th, 1982. My very first rock and roll concert was Survivor and REO Speedwagon.
Wow. I've heard that quite a few times. For some reason, everybody has seen an REO Speedwagon concert for the first time. A lot of people. It's really interesting.
I will never forget, my aunt called me. She lived in Connecticut. I'm up here in Vermont. She goes, Survivor and REO Speedwagon, you want to go? I'll get you tickets. And I'm like, yes. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great.
Of course, Gary was, our guitar hero in that band. We loved his playing. We loved his songs. And, when they came out that night and, of course, opened with Don't Let Him Go. And he just stood there and, held that first note for like forever.
Sure. He had to sustain,
Yeah. Almost Gary Moore-ish,
Yeah. It was, he was an awesome guy. I was very, very fortunate to be a good friend of his, a songwriter with him. We were, great friends, and it was just unbelievable the opportunities that he gave me and how much I learned from him. And that's one of the reasons why, the Richrath Project 313 came around, because he didn't get his justice, I don't think. He was just an amazing person, but obviously everybody knows him from his guitar sound.
Yeah. Did I say 1313? I got an extra one in here for some reason. Darn.
It's 313.
313. Okay, I threw an extra one in the beginning. I don't know how I did that, but anyway, the album is entitled LA is Mine. Now there's some older tracks and then some new tracks on this album. Do I have that correct?
That is correct. We did, Gary and I had some songs that we recorded as demos through the years when we were working together after the Only the Strong Survive album came out. And we were still working on demos for a new album. And then, things happen and people do different things. So I had all this stuff, and then he passed away in 2015. So I had a lot of stuff ready to go for the next album that we were working on, and they just needed to be finished. And with the record company came to me and asked me if I'd be interested in doing another Richrath album. And I said, well, yeah, I'd love to, but I didn't know exactly how to do it. And, one thing led to another. We flew out to Los Angeles and started recording some more demos for the new album. And that's when the COVID thing hit terribly with everybody, and everything pretty much shut down. But we had a lot of stuff that we worked on, and 3 of the songs actually have Gary's guitar on them. And maybe even some, you'll hear some of his background vocals are really hard to pick out, but we put him on there, and we digitally put his guitar on top of what we played. Our new guitar player, Dennis Pockets, obviously learned all the songs, but then Gary's main guitar is all the way through there and all the leads. And that's on These Nights, LA is Mine, the title track, and Help Me Save Me From Myself. And that Help Me Save Me From Myself was released as our single. And it's definitely Gary's work. You can hear his guitar singing right through there. And then I had some other songs that I had written for the new album that we put on there. And we decided to kind of tie it all together with the ultimate classic REO song that Gary wrote, Riding the Storm Out. Yeah. And Son of a Poor Man, which is one of my favorite songs that Gary and I did for years as studio interviews. We did it acoustically. So, we did it like the original way. And we did everything the original way that they would have done it in the 70s. And we recorded it like that. We play it like that. And we're still continuing to play it like that live. So that's the thing that's really cool about this band. We're a live rock and roll band like REO was in the 70s.
Yeah. Let's talk about, you mentioned Dennis Pockets on guitar. You got Scott Weber on keys, Doug Jansen on bass, and Andy Crownover, is it, on drums?
That is correct.
I was reading the bio. I mean, all you guys started playing music at real young ages. So there's definitely a lot of history here. And how did you all come together to form this band?
Well, I worked with Scott, the keyboard player, for many years prior to the other guys. And I lived out in Los Angeles for many years. That's when I was playing with Gary and touring and stuff like that. And I came back to the Midwest, and like I said, I wasn't at first when I came back here. I wanted to take a break from the business, and you can't. It's in your blood. You got to keep doing it. So I decided to get a band together, got my own record deal, and hired some guys around town here, and we're in Milwaukee area, and that's Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and
Okay.
we decided to just start doing some of our new stuff, and we toured and we did original stuff, some classic rock, and then like I said, again, through the years, people just kept saying, hey, you got to do this again. So I went back with Gary and recorded some more stuff after that, and then finally, like I said, after he passed away, you just pick up people along the road. I mean, here's one guy suggests another guy, and then I was so fortunate to find Dennis Pockets, because I mean, he is the biggest Gary Richrath fan in the world, and he plays like him, he emulates him, he sounds so much like him. People just are amazed with it. If you check out some of our videos on our YouTube page, or check out our website, richrathrocks.com, and there's videos of us playing live stuff. And again, I was very, very fortunate to meet all these guys.
Yeah,
they're all from the Midwest. They're all from the Midwest. They are very, very influenced by REO, but they're also influenced by other bands that are kind of similar.
Let's get into the tracks a little bit on the album. I did a little track by track thing. I won't ask you about all of them, but a few of them. Never Give Up. I read where that sort of started out as about a song about the rock and roll business, and then it turned into a song about COVID. You got some great spoken word in there as well. To me, that song took like the elements of Golden Country and fused them with Keep Pushing. It was like, a testament to what's going on in the world, but you've got to just keep pushing and trying to prevail.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. That's really cool. That's what happened with songs. It's so cool because I wrote that song like many moons ago. I wrote it a long time ago, and I remember one time I played it for Gary, and he loved the song. He said, yeah, we got to do that eventually. And we never really did anything to that song. But then, the guys heard it, the new guys that I'm playing with now heard it, and I riffed, and then I played it, started doing the lyrics. And it was after, the COVID thing hit. And it was originally, I wrote it about when I first moved out to Los Angeles and how tough it was out there to try to make it in the business, and you have to keep on keeping on, don't never give up. And then COVID hit, and all these people were, dying and having this COVID thing. So I kind of revamped it a little bit and made it into this new, thing for modern day times. And that's how it turned out. And it was, it just turned out to be really a cool thing. It's more of an anthem for us, And the Never Give Up thing and the 2020 thing and 2019 thing, it was cool. So
absolutely. Track 2, Help Me Save Me From Myself. You mentioned this one. What I liked about this one was the video that's out now of you and Gary in the studio and him, coaching you through it.
Right.
And I think that's real good because a lot of people don't realize what goes into a song, how you sit there and you play and you play and you play. And I could see him, telling you C, E on the chords and stuff like that. Well, people don't realize, the sort of fun, but yet tedium that goes into that,
Well, I tell you a funny story. That song to me was, because when I first met Gary, I played bass. Okay. I was a bass guitarist, lead singer. And he's like, you got to put the bass down and learn how to play guitar. And I'm going to be the one to teach you. And so, Take It on the Run is like the classic one I first learned. It's G, C, and D pretty much. And it's like, I got all those songs really good. I got them down. But he put a curve on me on that song when he put the chord progressions, and he dropped down to an E, and it was just throwing me off. And he's like, no. And we sat there in the studio. That was my home studio years ago. And it was like one of those things where it was just like, I couldn't get it. He's like, come on, you got it. We just kind of worked that out. And finally, as you hear the final mix of it, it's freaking awesome. I mean, that song just turned out great. And then, I put my touch with the vocal thing in it because I'm really into the heavy vocals, and I put about 12, 16 of my vocals in there all to get meshed together. So there's definitely vocal orientated.
What I found fascinating in doing a little background on you two was you started instruments playing the trumpet, and Gary supposedly started on sax in high school.
Yeah. That's something I know that too. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did many years of trumpet and I hated it. I wanted to be a rock star, and my parents, didn't want me to do that, and they wanted me to stick with the theory and learning how to play music correctly. And I wanted to be a rock star guitarist or bass player, and that's what I did. And eventually, it worked out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely did. Heard it on the radio. Just a great, catchy Midwest rocker.
Yeah, that's another one too. We actually recorded that. We weren't even going to put that on the album, and then all of a sudden, Dennis came down with this really cool riff and to rehearsal when we were rehearsing for the album, and he played this riff, and I said, you know what, I got a song that would fit perfectly for that I wrote, another one that I wrote years ago. It's called "Heard It on the Radio," and he got that riff, so we put it together, and it just that's one of my favorites, and the people love it when we're playing it live. It's such a party song, and it's kind of like an 80s thing, again, but it's modern day too. You're driving in a car, you got your girl next to you, and you're cranking up the songs on the radio, so
yeah, absolutely. Then we get to the title track, "LA Is Mine." I understand Gary's doing the 12 string on the intro, and then of course the blazing solo on the outro. I mean, that's just pure Gary.
Yep, that's pure Gary all the way through, and that was one of those things that his 12 string he was so amazing at it. We actually captured the whole thing. We got it to work with the whole thing, and man, I play 12 string a lot, but it's hard to play like Gary. Anything he picked up like that, it was just amazing. So we kept those tracks and we played all the way through it. And he, that was about him originally. He wrote that song probably in the 70s sometime, and he wanted to do it so many times. He wanted to put it on Only the Strong Survive, but it was just never done. And then we had demos and demos and demos, and we decided this is time for it, and this would be a great track, title track.
Now, he was basically self-taught on guitar, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
And
his uncle Leroy actually taught him a couple of chords, and he always joked about those songs like "Summer Love" and stuff like that. Those are pretty easy progressive songs that he just picked up and played. But yeah, that goes credit to a little bit of Uncle Leroy, but pretty much self-taught.
Now, he was a big Jeff Beck fan. Were there any other guitarists that you know that influenced him?
Yeah, Dickie Betts. I mean, you can hear that. He's pretty much in "Summer Love." That was a song that we do too, as REO did originally. But you can just hear that it's coming out of there. You can hear some of that stuff that Dickie Betts played, and like Eric Clapton. I mean, obviously, those were some of the people he always talked about. But Jeff Beck was one of his favorites by far.
We'll drop down to track 7, "Let Me Love Again." Kind of interesting with a ballad here, and I understand Gary sort of taught you how to wrap the guitar around the vocal with a ballad, and
exactly. Yep. Yeah, he was always the one. If you can hear, when I first started playing with Gary in the late 80s, one of his songs that he told me that I want you to listen to, because even though it wasn't his song, it was Cronin's "Can't Fight This Feeling." He felt that the way his guitar came through on there was a really good way to accent Kevin's voice. And he really, that was like one of his favorite solos that he did, even though it wasn't super intricate, but it was just melodically enhancing the vocal. And he kept pushing that on me. So I did. And I listened to a lot of the stuff that's like that. And, and again, I give a lot of credit to Kevin too, because, those songs he wrote were pretty amazing. And I'm a fan, and I try doing a lot of stuff like that.
The tune I automatically go to when I talk about Gary Richrath and what a monster he was on guitar is "Follow My Heart" off of High Infidelity. Those leads and tweaks and squeals and everything he threw in there, I'm like, and listen to the solos, just off the charts.
I mean, all the solos he does, it just, he was amazing, the stuff that he did. And he took it so seriously that it was like, like when he got into it, he really got into it. So it was cool, just being around him all the time was amazing, because it was just music, and that was it,
Yeah. Gonna jump down to track 9, "Tears of Pain." To me, this had almost like a 60-ish type vibe to it, to my ear. Am I hearing anything correctly?
Well, it was funny because I wrote that song just on acoustic guitar, and I kind of wrote it about my experiences with my family. And it kind of jumped out to the guys in the band, especially the drummer. and he came up with this incredible, crazy drum beat. I can't remember who he said he was listening to. Somebody from the '60s. So, man, you have a musical history, because he took it from this band. I can't think of the name of it now, but anyway, he that drum part, it was like, and we listened to it, it's like, hey, that'll work. So we put it in there, and we kind of started it that way and we ended it that way. So that was his contribution to the song, although he kept a real good beat through the whole thing. But those things, he really liked that song, and he thought that would work. But it's from a '60s tune. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. And then, of course, the two REO covers you did with Son of a Poor Man and Ride the Storm Out are just absolutely stellar. You know, there's
thank you very much. We took a lot of pride in doing the Riding the Storm Out, because, you know, you gotta, again, it's hard to do something like that from the original people that did it. And I've done it. I've played it with Gary so many times that you know, I felt we could do some justice, and we recorded it like they did in the '70s. So real mini Moog and everything, you know.
I want to ask you, and I'm sure you've been asked this dozens of times, so I'm trying to think up an original way or a new way to, you know, what was it like putting these songs together, hearing his guitar, you know, hearing his vocals, you know, being in the studio? Was there a moment of deja vu's like cliched? I don't know. I'm sure you felt his presence. Do you know what I'm trying to ask you?
Well, it was definitely, everybody did. And it was weird because when we would go through playback and we would play the song along, it was literally like he was in the studio, and it was it was a little emotional because, you know, we were close, but it was just, you know, trying to do justice to somebody who wasn't here anymore it's always going to be, people are going to always be opinionated on it. And, you know, I've been really lucky that I haven't had any negative things about it. Everybody has been so like, oh, we're so thankful you did this because we wanted to hear more, you know? Yeah. And, you know, I have more. So there might be another one. There might be some more coming up.
Well, there's a generation of us out there who grew up with this music, and we want to hear it. You know, we're at the age where we're waxing poetic over our lives. You know, I'll be 57 in December, and you're just looking back on those times and you realize how special it was now. You sort of knew it at the time, but you look back on it now and it's like, damn, that was really something, you know?
Yeah, it's like when you went to the concerts, it was going to a concert and you get those chills, you know, that was something. And, you know, like, fortunately for me, when I first started playing with Gary, you know, Riding the Storm Out, I remember the first show that we did, or even like Roll with the Changes, I felt like I was floating on the stage because I couldn't believe it. You know, when he hits that guitar, it's just like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm really doing this. You know, because I mean, you grew up seeing it, you know, and one of my favorite albums was, you know, You Get What You Play For, which I played in my basement when I was a kid all the time, you know, and you know, that was one of the things that was so magical when I actually, because I didn't believe that I actually was going to play with him. It was kind of like we moved into a house in Thousand Oaks, and he just bought a house in Newbury Park, which is, you know, it's a subdivision that were like butted up to each other, so they're real close. Yeah. And that was in California. And my drummer ran into him by accident at a convenience store and said, "Hey, you're Gary Richrath." And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I just bought a house up here." And he goes, "You in a band?" And the next thing you know, he's jamming in our studio. And I didn't believe it was going to happen, and then sure enough, it was. So I mean, it was really the coolest thing. So we were very fortunate, like I said.
I was going to say, you were in a band called Vancouver then, and you guys, Vancouver toured with Badfinger. Did I read that right?
Yes, actually, we did a tour briefly on the East Coast in 1983, and the band was actually the same members, but we were called Mirage back then. Okay. And then what we did is we were on the East Coast, and we did like I don't know, a month and a half out on the East Coast, and then we came back to the Midwest because we were originally from the Midwest, and we decided that we wanted to go do something else. So we got hooked up with some people that wanted to take us to Los Angeles, so we decided to change the name. Yeah. So we changed it to Vancouver. I don't know why, because we were a progressive rock band, I think, and we were really into progressive rock, like, you know, Rush and Triumph and Yes and stuff like that. My first concert actually was a Yes concert, so I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Chris Squire, you know.
Well, Chris Squire was like, to him and Geddy Lee were like my ultimate, you know, and that's all I had was Rickenbacker basses. Right. And then when I met Gary, he's like, "You got to put that thing down to start playing guitar." And he was right, because the melodic structure that you have of a guitar writing lyrics, and obviously that's what I really enjoy doing more than anything with my voice. So
Now,
it comes out.
he also pushed you to be singer and frontman in the band. Were you fronting these other bands, or were you just
Oh
playing
yeah,
bass
well,
then?
well, basically when we did the Rush thing, like the Vancouver thing and the Mirage thing, we were set up just like Rush. We were a three-piece. So I played a lot of stuff on keyboards and bass pedals, but I mainly played bass and sang. And the guitar player played some keys, and then the drummer, just the drums and stuff like that. But we like I said, he wanted me to be out front, fronting the band more, like, kind of like the way that the rock bands do it, the way he did it with Kevin.
Right.
And his infamous thing was, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So and that's what he did. And then he tried to, like his thing was he just wanted to put another band like REO with him being the main member, and that's what he did, and he, like I said, it was real good for a while, but
So going into it, were you more of like a bass player who sang or a singer who played bass?
I always had the best voice. I hate to say that because no one else really could sing.
Okay, yeah.
I remember
you sing like a bird, so.
I remember riding the storm out in my 8th grade graduation dance. So that kind of puts it back many years, and no one else could sing it. So, I was doing all those covers back then, but, like Gary when he heard my voice, he's like, he just looked at me and said, you got to start singing more. And, he wanted me to concentrate more on vocals, and he wanted me to learn how to play guitar so I could get the melodic structure out from the guitar chords instead of just playing bass. And he, because that's the way he knew that, and he's pretty accurate at what he did, because it's come a long way since I used to do that. And cool. And again, I thank him very much for that, because it was hard to do it at first. Like I said, it wasn't easy, but he just sat there and forced me and said, you're going to do this. And so I looked on his walls in his studio, and he had a few platinum and gold records around, so I really couldn't argue the fact.
Well, yeah, definitely. Well, plus he always sort of had that big brother element to him. I was reading, an interview with Bruce Hall where he said, same deal with him. They actually were together in a band like back in '68. I think the band was called Feather Train or something.
Yeah.
And then Gary called him, around, what was it, 80, and said, you got to come out and start playing. He had this big brother element to him. Would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, he was like I said again, he was like the mentor of everything. That's what's so sad about the REO thing, because he that was his band, that was his band, and I know that was one of the elements that kind of put the depression end of it into him when he wasn't in that band anymore. Like I said, it was I was with him pretty much all the time, so it was a sad thing, but it was a thing that had to happen,
Yeah.
So,
the other interesting thing I read in his bio was when he first went to Champaign and started playing around, their main competition was Dan Fogelberg, who was like in a rock band. They did like Who covers and flinging mics around. Did he ever talk about that at all?
Well, yeah. Well, Danny Fogelberg I believe he was from Peoria also. And Irving Azoff was his manager, and they were all from back in that area. And REO is from there in Champaign area, and again that they all kind of moved out west, But Gary pretty much played with just about everybody. I mean, he really had a history of people he played with, and it was, like I said again, his ability to play was sorry about that. Had a phone call. His ability that he had was just it was remarkable, and so many people he knew, and everybody knew him.
The other thing I think, his guitar playing is underrated, but he's also underrated his writing not, because Take It On the Run is just a classic. His production skills and his music knowledge and everything, I don't think a lot of people really know a lot about that.
No, and like I said, his thing, he always kept it simple, but he just knew how to do it. Like we spent so many hours in the studio, and I learned so much from him, just from recording techniques and different things like that. And that's where 313 came up from, because like we used to stay up like incredible amounts of time up until 3:13 in the morning, and I'd get so tired and we would be done, and I said, we gotta quit it. And it was that the digital clock came up at 3:13, and I said, okay, we gotta stop. So that was his thing, and it was, it was kind of a joke because we'd see 313 all the time on the digital clock. So that's kind of like our inside little thing that I'm sharing with the world again today. So, but yeah, that thing came up. He taught me so much about miking things, the way the drums were mic'd in his opinion, the way the guitars are mic'd, the way you play. That, like I said before when I was talking about how the guitar, when the guitar player is doing a solo, you let him do his solo, but then the lead singer backs off and vice versa, and you got to have a driving beat. I mean, he was my drummer that I worked with, Tracy, who was the drummer in the 3-piece progressive band. He also became our drummer in Richrath. And what he wanted more than anything is to have that Alan Gratzer solid beat, just solid. Yeah. So there was he was the guy who drove everything. And it took Tracy forever. Just kind of like when I played bass, he didn't really want me to play bass anymore because I was more like a Geddy Lee guy. He just wanted me to be a regular, solid bass player that could do that. And then, that's what he wanted for his band. And Tracy was the same way, solid drums, solid everything else. So he kind of reformed us all. Eventually I became the rhythm guitarist, but like I said, it was his ideas, his all the years of production that he had. It was amazing. I mean, he could do so many different things. He had a lot of different hats, and I got to learn a lot of that from him directly. So I'm very happy about that. Yeah. Because now it's just so everything is so, everything's so tracked and computerized, and it's just, it seems like they lost a lot of the feel to rock and roll.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I go back to me, it's funny. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. We were talking about REO Speedwagon, and I'm like, REO 2, their second album is like one of the greatest albums ever, And
sure.
He's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, you got to go back and listen to some of the stuff that's on that,
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff is just, I love it, and I love playing some of the stuff, and I love to hear stuff like you're saying right now, because it makes me feel really good about all the things. Because again, I don't know how much REO is actually out there touring, and I don't know how much they're doing the old stuff, but sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. Yeah. But I just love to hear it,
Definitely. Speaking of touring, we talked about this briefly before we started recording. All your gigs are basically off the table for now until after January, you said. COVID once again rears its ugly head.
Yeah, 2022, we're hitting it up in January. We'll be in, we're going to start a couple shows in Wisconsin, and we're in Illinois, and then we're going to Minnesota, and then we're going to head out east. We're doing some stuff in Myrtle Beach. And then we'll be back. We're playing Atlanta this year. We're going to be in Florida. We're going to be all over the place. So, definitely look at the website, richrathrocks.com, and you'll be able to see our tour dates and everything else we're doing, or we're on Facebook too. So, like I said, again, it's pretty much everywhere. You can buy the CD just about anywhere. It's on Amazon, and all those other venues that you can pick up stuff on. Is streaming everywhere. And we have a YouTube channel, and like I said, again, people can pick it up anywhere.
Very cool.
It's doing really well. In fact, I think there was a couple of things that we did that Classic Rock Radio or whatever it was, or Classic Rock, we had a bunch of different people that liked it and stuff like that, for like Alice Cooper thing. I think it was nice with Alice Cooper, and there was a bunch of different ones that they did, and it got up to like the 36 in the Classic Rock thing. So that helped me save it for myself. So that was pretty cool. I mean, and that was right when it came out. And then, like I said, pretty much the last 2 months shows got canceled because of the COVID thing.
Right.
So we just decided that we're not gonna do it. We're just gonna cut it out and start it up in January. So we just bumped all the shows into January.
Nice. Hopefully we get them in, and like I mentioned, there's a generation of us out here that are just hungry for this music. It takes us back to our youth and makes us feel like we're 17, 18, 19 years old again.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the same. Like when I get up on stage, I'm a kid.
Yeah. Just to step away from the music a bit, I understand in your spare time you also like to work on classic cars. You a Chevy, Ford, or a Mopar man?
Well, let's put it this way. I'm a GM guy.
Okay.
And I've been dabbling a little bit with everything, but it's been kind of rough doing everything right now. I'm just kind of taking it easy and relaxing. I've been in the studio a few times here. I have a home studio now that is pretty nice. So I've just been taking it easy with everything, and just letting it's starting to get cold here. I'm sure it is by you, Vermont. It's beautiful up in Vermont.
Yeah, foliage is pretty well shot right now, but a few weeks ago, yeah, the first part of October, it was pretty spectacular, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what a great time though to sort of kick back with the holidays coming up. You can just be with friends and family, and you know, so
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time actually that I got to just kind of kick back for a while, and it's really nice because last year we were busy, and then we were recording the album, and it's been we were out in LA the year before for quite some time, and we just were on the road constantly, and now this is the first time I've had off for it's been 3 months straight, so it's kind of nice.
yeah, breathe.
And my son is actually playing football this year. He just went to college for the first year, so
Nice.
he's I got to see all the games, so that was kind of cool that I didn't get a chance to do a lot of that before. So
That is awesome. Which college is he going to?
he's going to a Carthage College. It's in Kenosha, Wisconsin. It's Kenosha, and it's in Wisconsin, but a lot of Illinois people come up and go there, and he does a little traveling on the bus too, so he gets his little share of rock and roll busism.
There you go. Yeah. Been chatting with Michael Jahnz here, frontman for Richrath Project 313. The album LA Is Mine is out now, available everywhere. It's a fantastic stuff. If you like Heartland rock, REO Speedwagon, you will love this album. Michael, I always like to end with some fun, silly questions. I'm hoping these are questions you've never been asked before. Sound good?
Sure.
Let's go with the car thing. First car you bought with your own money.
A Ford Escort GT.
All right.
1986.
Nice. If you could speak any language instantly, what language would you pick?
My own.
Right.
Sometimes I can't speak very well. I don't know. I mean, let's say German.
Okay. Favorite superhero?
How about Captain America?
Captain America. All right, sounds good. Let's go the opposite way. Favorite villain?
The Joker.
Okay. If you could pick a television show to have a Richrath Project song placed in, what TV show would you pick?
Actually, the Today Show.
The Today Show?
The morning show in Today.
Yeah.
And the perfect one, it would be called Today. That was off. That's one of our top songs on the Only the Strong Survive album.
Very cool. Favorite toy growing up as a child?
Hot Wheels.
Oh, nice. If you could go back in time and have your mom cook one of your favorite suppers from your youth, what would you have her prepare?
Lasagna.
Lasagna. Okay, last one, and this is the one we have some fun with. If they were to make a biopic of your life, what actor would you have portray you? And it's your movie, your life. You can pick anybody.
Oh, man.
And if your significant other is still there, it's always fun to get their opinions too. If
She's not here.
She's not. Oh, darn.
Otherwise,
that could be real fun.
Geez, I don't even know. I don't know who I would think. I don't know. How about I gotta find somebody who's more like me that I can think. I don't know.
Can be somebody like you, can be somebody that you would want to pick.
What's the Pitt guy's name?
Oh, Brad Pitt?
Brad Pitt. How about that?
Perfect. All right, Michael, this has been a lot of fun, and like I said, this is the closest I've come to interviewing anybody who was as close to Gary as you were. Like I said, longtime hero, guitar hero of mine, first concert. It's been awesome to hear these stories and how he mentored you and everything. It's been a fantastic chat.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, and having me on your show, and looking forward to doing it again sometime.
Absolutely.
And please check out our have your people check out our CD, and hopefully we'll see him at a show soon.
Yeah, you get out here to Vermont, or anywhere close, I'm definitely going to be looking you guys up.
Last time we played in Vermont was so many years ago, and Gary, I was touring with Gary, and man, it was so beautiful out there. I just love same time of year. It was beautiful.
Awesome.
So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we'll get out there.
Excellent. Michael, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you once again very much for your time.
Thank you, Lance.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.